Have you ever wondered if someone crossed your path for a reason? It's not just romantically, but in the quiet moments of friendship, in business connections that shift your direction. Get mentors who appear with uncanny timing, or even those chance meetings that feel far from accidental. It's as if the right people arrive precisely when you need them most. Almost like some unseen force is pulling the strings behind the scenes. Could it really be coincidence? Or is there something deeper? At play something quietly shaping your reality from within? What if the people you meet are not random at all, but reflections of your inner world, your beliefs, your struggles, your desires, and where you're headed next? Today we'll take a closer look at why certain people seem to appear in your life at just the right moment. More importantly, how do you recognize whether they're genuinely aligned with your purpose, or simply passing through to teach you a temporary lesson in disguise? The answer might be closer to home than you think. Renowned psychologist Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century, didn't buy into the idea of chance encounters. To Jung, the people who step into your story aren't mere coincidences. They're symbols, external expressions of internal movements, mirrors of the psychological shifts happening deep within. Whether you're conscious of them or not, he called this mysterious force synchronicity, those eerie, almost magical moments when the inner world collides perfectly with the outer so precisely. In fact, that it defies logical explanation. Have you ever thought about someone out of the blue, only to hear from them the next day? Or maybe you met a stranger who, within minutes, seemed to understand parts of you better than people you've known for years. It feels random, but Jung believed otherwise. These moments, he said, are messages, clues from your unconscious, guiding you toward the people, places, and experiences that are essential to your evolution. And most of the time, you don't even realize it's happening. Think about it. We often assume we're making choices with logic and reason. But beneath the surface, the unconscious mind is already at work shaping our path, nudging us toward what we need most. Sometimes it's healing. Other times it's a challenge that forces us to grow. And occasionally, it's a powerful connection that helps us remember who we're meant to become. So maybe the better question isn't why did this person show up, ... But what part of you called them in? What truth, need, or wound brought them to your door? Once you start looking at relationships through this lens, you begin to see patterns that reveal what you're truly seeking, avoiding, or ready to transform. And suddenly your connections don't feel so accidental anymore. So, how do you know if a connection is real or just an illusion? A reflection of unmet needs, unresolved wounds, or hidden fears. Jung believed that every relationship acts as a mirror. The people around you reflect the parts of yourself you're either embracing or desperately avoiding. If you're constantly shrinking to stay close, hiding pieces of your truth, or reshaping yourself to fit someone else's mold, that's not alignment. That's survival. And survival often wears the mask of love, friendship, or loyalty. But with the right person, whether it's a friend, a mentor, or a ... life partner, there's no ongoing battle between who you are and who you feel you have to be. You don't have to negotiate your values just to stay close. You feel seen, you feel accepted, flaws and all. Most importantly, you feel free to keep growing into the most authentic version of yourself. Jung called this the process of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming whole, of shedding the layers of expectations, of peeling away the masks that society hands you one by one until what remains is your truest, most unfiltered self. And here's the secret. When you're truly on the path of individuation, something remarkable happens. You naturally begin to attract people who resonate with your truth, not because they suddenly appear like magic out of thin air, but because, for the first time, your vision is clear enough to recognize them. And perhaps even more importantly, you find the courage to let go of those who no longer fit the life you're building. Ask yourself this. How many times have you clung to relationships that silently drained your energy, spaces where love felt more like a transaction than a gift, or simply existing as yourself never felt quite enough? That's not real connection. That's attachment rooted in fear. A fragile bond sustained by the fear of being alone. True connection doesn't demand that you betray your essence to keep the peace. It doesn't ask you to shrink yourself, just to fit into someone else's story. Instead, it invites you gently, but powerfully, to become more of who you already are. And when you finally meet someone who makes you feel alive in ways you didn't know you could feel without ever asking you to be someone else, that's when you know you've found something real. Jung believed that your unconscious mind is always working quietly in the background, seeking balance, even when you're not aware of it. But when you ignore its quiet whispers, those messages don't simply fade away. Instead, they grow louder, more persistent. At first, it's easy to dismiss. Maybe you feel a faint restlessness, a subtle unease around certain people. Tiny moments of discomfort that you wave off, convincing yourself they mean nothing. But over time, left unattended, that inner tension spreads. Slowly but surely, it begins to seep into every corner of your life. You find yourself feeling drained. After spending time with certain people, like your energy has been quietly stolen, piece by piece, without your permission. You wake up feeling exhausted, no matter how many hours you slept. Your body feels heavier, your mind clouded, like you're walking through fog. Anxiety starts creeping in through the cracks. Motivation fades. Sometimes the signals become physical headaches that linger, tightness in your chest, stomach pains that no doctor can quite explain. These aren't random aches and pains. They are your mind and body waving red flags, warning you that something in your life is no longer right. You're out of alignment with the relationships you're holding on to. You're giving too much, receiving too little, and in the process, losing pieces of yourself. Unless you pause, really pause and listen to what your body and soul are trying to tell you, those signals will only grow stronger. Because here's the truth you can't ignore. Your most meaningful connections will never leave you feeling empty with the right people. You'll find a quiet kind of peace. You'll breathe easier, rest deeper, and feel lighter in your body and mind. That's how alignment feels. Your nervous system never lies in. Neither does that quiet ache inside you asking, is this really where I'm meant to stay? We live in a world that teaches us to fear being alone. It whispers to us that solitude is a sign of failure. That if we're not constantly surrounded by others, something must be wrong with us. But what if that's the biggest lie you've ever believed? What if everything you've been told about loneliness was never the truth to begin with? Being taught that solitude isn't a punishment handed down by life. It's a sacred space, a sanctuary where your soul finally has room to breathe. It's in this space that you stop chasing validation, stop performing for others, and finally begin to hear the voice that's been drowned out for far too long, your own. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you sat in silence without instinctively reaching for your phone, a playlist, or some other distraction? Can you truly spend time with yourself and actually enjoy it, savor it like a quiet afternoon breeze? Or does the quiet feel unbearable, almost suffocating? Are you searching for someone to love you, or for someone to rescue you from the parts of yourself you're still afraid to face? Because here's the truth that most people quietly avoid admitting, even to themselves. Until you learn to feel whole on your own without needing someone else to fill the gaps, every relationship you enter will be built not on love, but on need. And need creates dependency, not connection. You'll keep trying to fill the empty spaces in your heart with another person's presence, hoping that their closeness will quiet your fears. But no matter how close they get, no matter how much they give, it will never be enough to silence what's unresolved within. But when you embrace solitude for what it truly is, something incredible begins to unfold. You stop searching for someone else to complete you, and instead start becoming the person you were always meant to be. Kind of person who doesn't need love to feel worthy, but stands ready to welcome love when it arrives not as a necessity, but as a gift. And that's when everything shifts. Not because you finally found the right person, but because you finally realized you are the right person. So before you ask, when will the right one show up? Pause and ask yourself this far more powerful question. Am I the kind of person I would want to meet? Because the moment you begin living as that version of yourself, the one who walks in peace, who carries wholeness within, who shows up unapologetically, authentic, that's when the right people will find their way into your life. and you'll never need to chase them. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where, no matter how much you gave, it still didn't feel like enough? You tried harder, gave more, sacrificed pieces of yourself, and yet somehow, you still felt unseen, unappreciated. Caught in a constant cycle of chasing their approval, Jung would gently remind you, this isn't really about them. This is about you. This is the unconscious mind quietly doing what it always does, projecting your hidden beliefs onto the people around you, you see. When there are parts of yourself you haven't fully accepted, your fears, your insecurities, your feelings of unworthiness, those feelings don't simply disappear because you ignore them. They find their way into your relationships. You start attracting people who unknowingly reflect back the very doubts you've been carrying inside. If deep down, you believe you're not enough, your unconscious mind will quietly draw in people who, through their actions or words, seem to confirm that belief. Not because they are bad people or cruel individuals, but because your unconscious mind is always seeking to reinforce what it already believes to be true. This is projection in action. You look at others, and without realizing it, you see not just who they are, but the unhealed, unrecognized parts of yourself staring back at you. Think about it. Have you ever felt overlooked by someone, and yet deep down, you struggled to see your own worth? Have you felt abandoned, yet deep down, without fully realizing it, you've emotionally abandoned yourself again and again? Have you ever pointed fingers at others, blaming them for not loving you enough, all the while quietly withholding that same love and kindness from your own heart? These patterns, though painful, aren't punishments life throws at you. Gentle alarms, designed not to shame you, but to wake you up from the trance of your unconscious habits, till you take a hard, honest look at those buried beliefs, till you bring them into the light where they can no longer hide. You'll find yourself living the same emotional stories again and again. You'll call it fate, resigning yourself to the idea that this is just how life is, all the while wondering why, despite your efforts, nothing ever seems to change. But something shifts the moment you recognize the truth. This is projection, and in recognizing it, you reclaim your power. Suddenly, the cycle breaks. You realize deeply that healing doesn't begin when someone else finally recognizes your worth. It begins the very moment you do. That single shift changes everything. You stop begging for scraps of affection that leave you feeling hollow. You stop settling for half-hearted love, the kind that barely fills the emptiness inside. Why? Because now you understand a profound truth. What you accept within yourself, what you make peace with inside, will always shape what you invite into your life. Picture this for a moment. You're standing in front of two doors. One feels familiar, its surface worn smooth by years of habit. Its handle fits perfectly in your palm because you've turned it 1,000 times before. Behind it lies everything you've always known: comfort, predictability, and yes, alongside them, the same heartaches, the same disappointments, the same unfulfilling patterns that have quietly followed you like a shadow. And then there's the other door, untouched, unknown. Its handle feels strange beneath your fingers, cool and unfamiliar. Behind this door, uncertainty, change, and the unsettling possibility that life could be radically different, perhaps better, perhaps worse. But you won't know unless you dare to open it. Most people, when faced with this choice, reach instinctively for the familiar door. Why? Because even if what lies beyond it causes pain, even if it traps them in exhausting cycles of frustration and heartbreak, at least they know what to expect. The unknown, by contrast, feels far scarier than the suffering they've already learned to endure. Jung believed this was one of humanity's greatest tragedies, that so often we would rather endure familiar suffering than risk the vulnerable, uncomfortable process of transformation. But here's what no one tells you. Each time you choose that old door, you're not just choosing the past, you are actively turning your back on the future that's calling you forward. You're sending a silent message to life itself. I'm not ready. I'm not worthy yet. I'll stay here in this safe space, even if it slowly breaks me from the inside out. But if you're brave enough, just brave enough to reach for that new door, something inside you begins to shift. Yes, at first it's terrifying. Yes, stepping into the unknown will shake the very foundation of what you believe about yourself and what you think you deserve. But beyond that door, beyond the fear, lies freedom. It's a freedom to finally live the life you've been quietly longing for, the one filled with authentic connections, inner peace, and the kind of love that never asks you to shrink or betray yourself just to keep it. The question remains, are you willing to face temporary discomfort for the chance at lasting joy? Or will you keep choosing what feels safe, even if it means remaining trapped in a life that no longer fulfills your soul? No one can open that new door for you. No one can walk through it except you. And sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is take one trembling step toward the life you've always been too afraid to claim. Let's be honest. How many times have you silenced that quiet, almost imperceptible feeling deep inside, the one gently warning you that something just wasn't right? Maybe it came as a subtle tightness in your chest, a low hum of anxiety before a difficult phone call, or that unmistakable hesitation right before you whispered, "I love you," only to sit in the deafening silence, waiting far too long for it to be returned. And yet, despite the discomfort, you stayed. You convinced yourself it was just a rough patch, a temporary season that would surely pass. You told yourself that maybe you were overreacting, that you were being too sensitive, too demanding, or worst of all, ungrateful for the love you believed you were lucky to have. But here's the hard truth that no one prepares you for. Your mind, with all its logic and reasoning, will desperately try to rationalize a relationship. It will spin elaborate stories and justifications, convincing you to remain in familiar places, even when those places quietly break your heart. But your body, your intuition, never lies. Jung believed that intuition is not some mystical force, but the purest language of your unconscious mind. It's the quiet whisper rising from the depths of your soul, gently guiding you long before your conscious thoughts can catch up. And when you are in the presence of someone who is truly right for you, that voice doesn't scream in warning, it hums in peace. You don't feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, calculating every step, second-guessing your every word. You don't spend sleepless nights replaying conversations in your mind, wondering where you stand or decoding mixed signals that leave you feeling confused and small. Instead, you feel safe, you feel steady, you feel seen, and most of all, you feel at peace. That's the difference. Real connection feels like coming home, not walking onto a battlefield. But somehow, as a society, we've romanticized intensity. We glorify the dramatic highs and crushing lows, mistaking chaos for passion and instability for excitement. We tell ourselves that if love doesn't consume us, it must not be real. But what no one tells you is that true. Lasting love doesn't demand that you suffer to prove its worth. It doesn't leave you questioning your value every single day, nor does it make you feel like you're constantly fighting just to earn scraps of affection. Love isn't supposed to feel like a war zone. With the right person, there is ease. There is space to breathe, to laugh, to cry, to rest without fear of punishment or rejection. There is a quiet confidence that you are safe, not only physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And if you're honest with yourself, deep down you already know this truth. Your intuition has whispered it to you again and again. The only question left is, are you finally ready to listen? Because peace doesn't always arrive with a shout. Sometimes it comes in the softest of voices, a quiet knowing deep within your chest that says, you don't have to live like this anymore. And it's in that very moment, when you choose to trust that quiet voice, that your life begins to change. If there's one truth we all eventually have to face, it's this: you cannot attract what you aren't yet ready to hold. So many people spend their lives searching tirelessly for love, hoping someone will finally arrive to fill their emptiness and make them feel whole. But love doesn't work that way. It never has, and it never will, until you heal the broken parts of yourself. That's still feeling worthy? Until you stop looking for someone else to fill the voids you've left unattended within yourself? Every relationship you enter will simply reflect your own unfinished business. You'll either find yourself chasing people who cannot love you back, or, almost without realizing it, you'll push away the very ones who try. Why? Because deep down, beneath the surface of your words and actions, you still don't believe you deserve them. Jung believed that we don't meet others by accident. Every encounter, every relationship happens when we are ready, truly ready. Ready to see the lessons they carry into our lives, ready to face the mirrors they hold up to us, and ready to accept the truths they reveal about our own inner world. That's why healing isn't something that happens after you find love. The work you must do before love even arrives, so when it finally comes knocking, you won't be too blind, too guarded, or too wounded to recognize it. And here's the beautiful part of it all. When you step fully into the most authentic version of yourself, when you stop apologizing for your existence, when you embrace every scar and every flaw without shame, something subtle but powerful shifts inside you. You no longer feel the need to chase love. You no longer beg for attention, nor do you settle for less than what your soul truly deserves. Because at that point, you have already become love. And from that space of wholeness, the right person doesn't arrive to complete you. They don't fill some aching emptiness. Instead, they simply come home to you. Now you are finally living as the person you were always meant to be, whole, grounded, at peace, open to receiving love, not out of desperation or loneliness, but from a quiet, steady confidence and a deep sense of self-worth. So ask yourself honestly, am I still waiting for someone to save me? Or am I finally becoming the person who no longer needs saving? Because when you take that brave step, when you finally come home to yourself, that's when love walks through the door. Quietly, effortlessly, without struggle or games. And if these words found their way to you today, maybe it's not by accident. Maybe it's the quiet nudge you've been needing to hear. A gentle reminder that before you search for the right person out there, you must first become the right person for yourself in here. So I invite you now to pause, to reflect. Are you still waiting for someone else to make you feel whole? Or are you ready, truly ready to stand tall in your own light, knowing deep in your bones that you are already enough, just as you are? If this message resonated with something inside you, I'd love to hear your story. Share your thoughts in the comments. Who knows? Your words might be the very thing someone else needs to hear today, reminding them they're not alone in their journey. And if you know someone who's still searching for love, but quietly forgetting to love themselves first, share this video with them. Together, let's create a space where healing, growth, and authentic connection are not only possible, but inevitable. And don't forget to subscribe. There's so much more waiting for you here, a place where the journey inward will always lead you closer to the life you've been searching for all along. Until next time, take care of yourself, because truly, that's where it all begins.